Welcome to episode 58 of the Unstoppable podcast. This is the Monday solo round. My name is Dan J. Gregory, and I am committed to hunting down the secrets of business mastery and human performance. My goal for the Unstoppable podcast is to share insights from some of the most successful entrepreneurs, inspiring thought leaders, world-class athletes, and prominent celebrities to help you to become unstoppable in business and life. Each week I'll be bringing you a new interview with an inspiring person and sharing my own results as I pursue the answers to the question, how can I create the ultimate edge in my business, make a significant impact, and live an extraordinary life? Welcome to episode 58 of the Unstoppable podcast. Welcome to another Monday solo round with me, Dan J. Gregory. So, to get ready for this show, I was feeling a little fatigued before I got to the mic, so I warmed up with a little singing. I put on Faith No More, and I was rocking out, beaming out some Mike Patton to get my vocal cords, my body, my head in tune for today's episode, but don't expect me to sing. It's not going to happen. So, today's episode, before I get into it, I want to recap what we have covered over the last couple of weeks. So last Thursday, I brought you Marcus Leach, and we talked about the champion's mindset. It's a highly inspiring episode. Marcus is a global adventurer taking on all kinds of ridiculous physical challenges, from mountain climbing to cycling, and he's got a hugely inspiring story, and I came away incredibly inspired. So I strongly advise, if you haven't listened to Marcus's interview yet, do go back and check it out in episode 57. And then last Monday, in episode 56, I talked about one of the most important conversations that I've ever had in my life. It was a transformational conversation with my father and with other members of my family. And, the whole theme of the episode was about self-love and about if your external results that you're pursuing, whether it's your business, your finances, your body, your relationships, the chances are, if you're not experiencing right now what you want to experience, there's a challenge with either your self-love or your self-worth. And I know those two kind of go hand in hand. But I discovered I had an issue with self-love. This was a really highly revelationary issue for me. And I traced it back to a specific situation in my family upbringing. If you want to find out all about the discussion that I had and the impact that it's had, the freeing experience, the liberation I've had since that conversation, do go and tune in. In fact, if you haven't listened to that one, if you don't listen to any other episode that I've ever recorded, listen to last Monday's episode. It's going to change your life. I'm confident of it. So today, on this Monday episode, I've got something a little different for you. Again, from personal experience. So a couple of things have happened over the last couple of weeks. So last Monday, I was sat in Bristol, my city where I live right now, at 8:30 in the morning on Monday morning. I went and sat on the City Plaza. It's a big kind of town square where multiple people are heading across in different directions. There's lots of transport systems there, so everyone kind of interconnects through this central square, and it's a lot of it's a route on the commuter route in terms of into lots of the corporate areas in town. So every morning right now, I'm taking a walk just to get my body woken up. Although I go to the gym first thing in the morning, I'm taking it another step further to get my 10,000 steps a day. I'm going out for a walk to clear my head, get my body moving, and get focused on the day ahead. So last Monday, I took a walk, went and sat down on the town plaza, and I sat there for about 15 minutes just watching the world go by and just looking at some of the people walking past. And it was a shocking experience, I must tell you. Monday morning at 8:30 in the city centre is shocking. And what do I mean by that? Well, people's body language and body shape say a lot about that individual. And what was really, really sad to see at that time in the morning, I know it's Monday morning, and people have been out the weekend or whatever and done lots of fun stuff, but people look tired, they look depressed, they look sad. Think about the body posture, the shoulders were hunched, people with bags under their eyes, pale skin, and then you've got the larger people, overweight people, and I just sat there looking at these body postures, their body language, their body shapes, and I thought, this is sad, because 80% of the people I saw plus were in this state of what looked like a state of sadness. And then contrast that, I did the same thing on Friday evening Friday evening at 5:30 p.m. instead of 8:30 p.m. in the evening. I was on my way to the gym. I was waiting for my gym buddy to arrive. So I sat again for about 10, 15 minutes watching the world go by. This time the sun was shining. Obviously Friday afternoon, Friday evening, people finish work for the week. And the body language was different. People had smiles on their faces, living for the weekend. But the other sad part is those bags under the eyes, those tired eyes, that stressed faces that were still there despite that kind of wry smile that the week was over. And I just thought, this is really sad. It's sad to see. And I would hate to think that you listening to this show are one of those people. But I want to center this conversation today on how you can make a change. And it touched me actually on Monday when I sat there. I was thinking, I have the power to influence this. And I want to make sure that I use this podcast and all the stuff I put together, my coaching programs and the online courses and live events and those kind of things, to really make a change, because we only get one shot at life, at least in my opinion. In my map of the world, this is not a dress rehearsal. This is the real deal. And if we're not going to spend our time feeling happy and joyous and passionate and excited about what we're doing and who we are, then we've got some real challenges. And that's a challenge I want to take on. In any business, you've got to look for problems to solve. And for me, that lack of desire, that lack of excitement, that lack of joy, that lack of happiness, that lack of passion is something I want to go after and help people solve that problem. So this episode was really provoked by one of two things. Firstly, that observation from last Monday morning and Friday evening and the contrast between the two. But then also last night, I watched the film adaptation of the book, The Little Prince. And I read that book for the first time when I was in hospital when I was in my early 20s. I had a serious medical condition. I was there for 3 weeks, nil by mouth, really suffering. And one of my friends bought me this book, this Little Prince book. And it is just a little read, but it's a magical book. It's almost like a kid's book for adults. And it really is a spectacular book. But last night I watched the film adaptation, and really what I find it is about, it's almost a commentary on human beings and the characters that we play as humans and the emotions we experience. And it's really interesting to see. I don't want to spoil it for you. I want you to see it. So do make sure you checked it out. But it got me thinking again about this situation between that Monday and Friday divide. People living for the weekend, dreading Mondays. And I thought there's got to be something I can talk about here on this line. So having had these two things, bizarrely, one of the first things I thought about when I woke up this morning was, where do our thoughts come from? Where do our thoughts come from? What causes us to think about certain things? And then from those thoughts, where do our emotions come from? What these feelings that we experience on a day-to-day basis. And whilst at this point in time, science doesn't really know where our thoughts come from. There's lots of different debates about where the origin of thought is. And of course, we have the conscious and the subconscious mind, and our subconscious mind is active all the time, running processes that we're not even aware of. But our conscious mind is something we can direct. So looking at the same divide of conscious and unconscious when it comes to our emotions, we've really got two types of emotions. So you've got the unconscious emotions, which are triggered by things that we've experienced in the past, which we've learned to link a certain feeling towards. So for example, if someone has shouted you in the past, that may trigger a feeling of rage in your body. If someone has, warmly embraced you with a hug, every time you get hugged, you may then feel that sense of warmth and love. And the emotions get attached to our experiences, our associations, these reference points that we've learned throughout our upbringing. And a lot of these things, again, talking about change and personal transformation, a lot of change has to come as a result of some of the things that we've learned in the past. Our past conditioning often dictates a lot of the things we're experiencing now. But it's an unconscious process. And we all have what I call an emotional home. And think about some of the people right now in your friendship group, in your workplace, in your peer group. Think about some of the faces and the people that come to mind. Do you know someone who lives in the emotional home of complete joy and happiness? Do you know someone who lives in the emotional home of anger, frustration? Do you know someone who lives in the emotional home of sadness or disappointment? We all tend to have this emotional home, which is our default set of emotions. But a lot of the emotions that we experience on a day-to-day, week-to-week basis are all guided by our past conditioning, that unconscious emotion, and even down to some of the interrelational conflicts that we have, arguments, for example, they come from those past conditioning. So your partner may do something or say something that causes you to irrationally respond in a way that you've responded historically because of how you learned to respond that way. It's unconscious. It's been linked up as your default pattern. So you might be sat there feeling frustrated as a result of something that's happened outside of you. But when you stop and think about it, why are you frustrated? Have you ever stopped to think about why does this frustrate me? Because a lot of those things have been built into you over the past. So my question to you is, does your job, your business, the weather, the day of the week, the time of the week, do these contribute to how we feel? Well, the answer strictly is yes, because we've learned to feel certain ways when these things happen. So if it's a dull day, many people will think, oh, it's a dull day. How disappointing. But that's a meaning that we've learned to attribute to a dull day, whereas the sun comes out and, there's plenty of studies as well. I acknowledge that when the weather is positive, then people are positive. There's lots of simple common sense that would suggest that makes sense. But a lot of the emotions that we experience come down to these positive or negative associations that we've built over time. Now, the reality is when we take personal responsibility and we live as the creator of our own lives, we can live consciously. And by living consciously, we can also consciously create our emotions. So we can separate and divorce ourselves from that unconscious living. So those people I saw on that Monday morning who are up first thing in the morning, getting ready for work, and they're feeling stressed out already before they even start the day. They're feeling sad, depressed because they're either in a job they don't like, or they've got a meeting first thing that's going to stress them out because they're underperforming or whatever it may be. The challenge is, it's not the job that's making you unhappy. It's your response, the meaning you've given to your job that's making you unhappy. It's not the person that makes you unhappy. It's the meaning that you give to that person and your relationship with that person. When you consciously take control of your emotions, you can shift the game. Now, there's a couple of things here, because you may be in a job where you categorically do not like. And if that is you, or even in your business, being self-employed, if there are tasks that you find mind-numbingly dull or uninteresting or tedious, these emotions you've attached to those particular tasks, you can change the tasks that you do. There's plenty of opportunity to outsource, automate, systemize, hire a team member, someone who could do these things. But first of all, you could try changing your association with the actual task itself and actually ask yourself, why does this bore me? What joy could I find in this situation? What happiness can I find doing this? How can I enjoy this process? And start to take personal responsibility. On the other hand, point two here is, if you're in a position where you really don't enjoy what you're doing, that's consistent, and no matter what processes you put yourself through, then you need to take personal responsibility by making a change, making a shift. And we all have the opportunity to do that. Just the weekend on Sunday, I was having breakfast and discussing with the lady who was hosting us. And she said, if I had my life again, I would make all these changes. And I was thinking, if you had your life again, you're not the end of your life yet. You're not the end of your life. You're young. You have energy. Don't wait. Don't say, if I start again. We have one life. Just go do it now. So my message to you, if you're one of those 8:30 in the morning people on Monday, not feeling the love, the joy, the happiness, the passion, the excitement, either find ways to find that within your current circumstances. And sometimes the process of change when it comes to changing circumstances can take a while. So use that opportunity, start enjoying what you're doing in the interim. But in the meantime, go find what it is that lights you up and fires you up. You see, not only do we have to consciously choose the activities that we enjoy, that make us happy and passionate and joyous, we also have to stand guard at the door of our mind. That's Jim Rohn said that. Because we have all these other people's negativity coming into our brain. We have other people's frustrations and disappointment. So you have to be ready to stand guard against those things so you can control your own emotions. Because I believe, going back to the piece around thought, conscious thought or unconscious thought, what we put in consciously is what our subconscious mind is going to respond to most frequently. If we constantly put in trash, our subconscious brain is going to respond to the trash. So if we want to feel positive, joyous, happy for alive, vibrant, then if we feed our mind with joyous, vibrant, passionate stuff, activities, thoughts, then it's going to get used to what we give it the most. So you need to stand guard against those negative influences, but also we have to take the conscious approach of giving our mind the ingredients to feed upon, because weeds will grow if a more desirable seed is not sown. Weeds will be present. Think about your garden. If you leave it unattended, it's going to become overrun with weeds. So we have to pick out the weeds and we have to plant the seeds that we want to grow. So this all happens by living a life of deliberate intent. Now, here's the next quandary. Thinking, okay, Dan, yeah, I get the point. There's things I'm not happy with. I want to make a change. How do I do it? How do I even know? How do I even know what lights me up? How do I know what makes me happy? And this is where we have to go back and delve into those past associations, the past references, the experiences we've had. It gives us plenty of clues. And if you've been listening to the podcast for a while now, I did an episode on happiness because I felt emotionally drained. I was like, this sensation of happiness had disappeared. I asked myself the question one day is, what am I most happy about? And I struggled to answer the question. But it was primarily because I become disconnected from the things that made me happy. So even the simple things like listening to music in the morning, I neglected. So when we go back into our kind of experience bank, look at all the things that you have done in the past that have brought you joy, happiness, that excite you, things that fire you up. And you can apply this to your business, your relationships, your hobbies. Go and have a look at all the things where you found yourself in a state of utter joy. The things that really make you feel happy. So you need to explore those references, use that recall process to find the things that bring you joy. And here's the other thing. Sometimes it's not the circumstance that needs to change, it's your attitude to the circumstance. I remember when I was growing up, there was a certain food type that I really didn't like. But then bizarrely, I had this operation, this physical operation, medical operation, and after that operation, I loved it. I loved the food. So I had this jolt that changed the way I thought about a certain food type. But we don't have to wait for something external to happen to change our perception. Think about some of the things that you've perhaps not tried or you have tried and you haven't allowed yourself to feel joy in the moment. The circumstances were different. Your attitude towards the circumstances were different. What things have you done in the past that you could actually found joy in if you allow yourself to do? Some people are so risk adverse, they won't allow themselves to try certain sports or activities. What things have you avoided that you could start trying? And that's point 3, really. It's about creating new experiences. Because it's easy to find the things from our past, the references where we know the things that make us happy. For me, just putting that music on first thing in the morning gets me in a totally different state of mind than when I don't do it. If I'm pumping out the tunes I talked to you about before we even started this episode, rocking out to Faith No More. I was feeling tired before I put that tune on. Now I'm buzzing. Listen to me. I'm in flow. I could jump. I could bounce up and down as I record this right now. I'm in the zone. So find out the things that make you happy, but then go and seek new experiences. Open your mind, go and try new things, because that's how you form new linkages, new experiences, new references, new associations, all the things that could potentially make you happy. But the only way you'll find out is by trying. The only way to find out is by trying. And it brings me back to that story of the little prince, because he was so confused by adults and their refusal to try new things. We have to go back to that childlike state. Think about it, when you're a kid where you had just wonder, this pure, wondrous, innate desire to try new things, to experiment, to go and do things, to go and experience. We need to have that wonder-like creation in order to find the things that really light us up. Because as we become adult, these grown-ups, it really creates these barriers, these limitations to what we can experience. We just got to let that go. Over the last week, I've just been thinking about it non-stop, just thinking, as I saw those people, I was thinking, how can I help these people find more joy in their lives? Because it's so that we live in this opportunity-rich place. So are you doing what lights you up right now? And if you are, do more of it. Find ways to do more of it. But if not, if you're that Monday 8:30 a.m. person in the morning, you're struggling, you're looking forward to the weekends, which is fine. Look forward to the weekends. I look forward to the weekends. But create a life full of meaning. Create a life full of meaning and let go of the fear of finding what lights you up. I know so many people, if I were to sit in front of them, they find dissatisfaction in what they're doing. Your profession is really one of the focal points of this. If your business or your job isn't exactly what fires you up, you spend so much time immersed in that environment. You have to find something that fires you up. And those people on the way at 8:30 in the morning on Monday morning, the ones looking dissatisfied. I mentioned the people who are overweight. Your overweight is usually a symptom of a lack of self-love or a lack of self-worth. And a lot of the things you do on a day-to-day basis will contribute to your own self-love or self-worth. So find the things that light you up. When you ask the right questions, you will find the right answers. So start asking, what is it that lights me up? What fires me up? What excites me? What makes me passionate? What makes me happy? What could I be happy about? What am I looking forward to? What am I committed to creating in my life? Find the questions that will help you find the answers to create the quality of life that you are really, really going after. Don't get to the point where you're saying, if I had my life all over again, this is what I would do. Take control now. Take personal responsibility. Design your life. You are the creator of your life. You hold the pen. You create the script, no one else. Only when you live unconsciously, like we talked about, do you let go of control. So choose today, right now, to make a decision to live consciously. Figure out what it is that fires you up and go do it. Go do it now. Now, that's it for me. I've been on a rant. I hope you enjoyed this Monday solo round. I've really enjoyed it. I know I stuttered and stumbled, and I told you a few weeks ago when I was going on this new journey in terms of the podcast. Previously I was scripted, and it felt quite, although I brought good quality content to you, I felt quite trapped in boundaries. So now I'm uncaged, unleashed, and it means you have to put up with me kind of finding my rhythm at the minute in terms of my communication, but hopefully you feel the sincerity and intensity coming through today. I hope I've jolted you today to find the things that you love, and I look forward to serving you some more. So if you know someone in your life, I've referenced certain different types of people, if you know someone that could do with a jolt to help them find the things that light them up, please do tag them in the post on social media. Do share this episode. I would really appreciate that. I want to share this unstoppable message with as many people as possible. But that is it for today. If you're not already a member of the Unstoppable Facebook group, I'm just about to kick that off again. I did let it slide. I was umming and ahhing whether and how I wanted to use that, but I've made a commitment that I'm going to grow that group. So come over to danjgregory.com/tribe. You'll find a way to enter the group. Until next time, I'm back on Thursday with a new interview for you, a very special guest, and I've got some class acts coming up for you on the podcast. So thanks again for listening. Until next time, go out there, unleash your greatness, build your empire, make your impact, and live your ultimate life. You are unstoppable.